Homage to fundamental teacher Buddha Shakyamuni, homage to wisdom warrior Manjushri, homage to all lineage benevolent masters. The Dharma, infinitely profound and subtle, is rarely encountered even in 1,000,000 eons. Now we are able to hear, study, and follow it. May we fully realize Tathagata's true meaning. In order to liberate all sentient beings, generate supreme bodhicitta. Today we will teach the words of my perfect teacher. In the words of my perfect teacher, we are now teaching the precepts of refuge. That is to say, the precepts of refuge have 9 articles. Among these 9, yesterday we already taught the prohibitions. That is to say, the 3 precepts of what to abandon have been completed. Today we teach the 3 precepts of what to practice. Second, 3 things to practice. What to practice refers to what we should do. After taking refuge in the 3 jewels, there are 3 things we should do. What are these 3? After taking refuge in the Buddha, we should respect and make offerings to Buddha, images, even fragmentary pieces, carrying them on our head and placing them in clean places. We should regard them as actual Buddha jewels, generate faith, and maintain pure perception. After taking refuge in the Buddha, there is this requirement. The Buddha is not currently in this world, having manifested parinirvana, but the Buddha's representatives are Buddha statues and stupas. Especially Buddha statues are the Buddha's emanated forms. Many scriptures explain this. After the Buddha's parinirvana, his form appears as Buddha statues. Just as stated in a verse from the letter to a friend, as wise beings, even wooden Buddha statues are worthy of respectful prostration. Therefore, we who have taken refuge in the Buddha should prostrate, take refuge, and bow to images of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, whether they are paintings or sculptures. This goes without saying. Moreover, even fragmentary pieces of Buddha images, such as pieces of tankas or fragments of Buddha statues, should also be respectfully prostrated too, carried on the head, and viewed with pure perception. Then place them in clean places. They cannot be placed where people pass by, but should be in clean places. Regard them as actual Buddhas, generating joy and respect toward them. Think in your mind that they are no different from actual Buddhas. In the degenerate age, the Buddha will manifest in such forms to benefit beings. After taking refuge in the Buddha, we must do this and never despise Buddha images, even when seeing Buddha images and Buddhist temples. Some don't even remove their hats, treating them with particularly contemptuous eyes or disrespectful attitudes. This is unreasonable. After taking refuge in the Dharma, we should generate respect for even individual words or phrases, even single characters or sentences of Buddhist scriptures, carrying them on our head and making offerings, generating the thought of actual Dharma jewels. After taking refuge in the Buddha Dharma, we should have respectful minds toward texts like the Tripitaka and treatises, the Tantras and scriptures of both Sutrayana and Vajrayana. This goes without saying. We should have respectful hearts toward them. Even texts that are not actual scriptures, but individual characters and sentences that represent scriptures, fragmentary words and phrases, we should also treat as actual Dharma jewels. Therefore, as we have often taught, the Buddha said in the scriptures that in the Buddha's degenerate turbulent world, he benefits beings through the form of written words. If at that time we regard them as the world-honored one, it will benefit ourselves. Therefore, not only should we respect the texts of Buddhist scriptures and treatises, but even worldly texts, including magazines and newspapers, we see such written words should also be worthy of respect. From a broad perspective, they should also be worthy of respect, because they guide people in what to accept and reject. We must never despise them. Now, including some Buddhists, I heard that in some monasteries, some Buddhists, when debating with others, I heard that in one monastery, someone was holding a text of Brahmanavartika in their hands. Later, during the debate process, after much discussion, he said this text is merely words. There's no meaning in respecting it. Then he placed it under his buttocks. How terrifying. Some people generate such wrong views. Though they appear to be Buddhists on the surface, they actually are not at all. On one hand, he himself is particularly foolish because he doesn't know at all what the value of Buddhist scriptures is. So, if we generate such wrong views, we are truly very pitiful. Therefore, after taking refuge in the Dharma jewel, we must have respect for all scriptures, for all canonical texts. Never place them in unclean places or on the floor, or in places where people easily step on them. They must be placed in high places, in quiet places. We ourselves should also respectfully prostrate to them. I see that some Buddhists are still very disrespectful toward Buddhist scriptures. I heard that some people put all their Dharma jewels under their beds, including some Buddha statues also placed under beds. Some people even carry scriptures when taking trains or buses. At such times, they place them below. How foolish these people truly are. Generally speaking, people with wisdom would never place Dharma jewels and Buddha jewels below their bodies. In this way, they basically have no respectful heart toward the three jewels. Therefore, we should pay particular attention to this in the future. During the Cultural Revolution period, some people in our Tibetan regions, when some leaders demanded they sit on prayer wheels, demanded they sit on scripture boxes, they would rather die than sit because they were unwilling to abandon the three jewels, unwilling to step on scripture boxes. I heard that in one place they put scripture boxes on the road, then made a person with particularly firm vows choose between a path completely covered with scriptures on one side and broken glass on the other. They made him choose barefoot between stepping on broken glass or stepping on scriptures. Later, he stepped on the broken glass in front of everyone, unwilling to step on the scriptures. Therefore, in the future, we must have respectful hearts toward all Buddhist scriptures because you have already taken refuge in the Dharma jewel. After taking refuge in the Sangha jewel toward all Sangha jewels, what we commonly call the Sangha jewel, is 4 or more monastics called the Sangha community. Also, bodhisattvas who have attained the grounds can also be called Sangha jewels. The Sangha community and representatives of the Sangha community, including the Sangha's robes, red and yellow-colored fragments, patches and above, should also generate the thought of actual Sangha jewels, respectfully prostrating and making offerings, placing them in clean places, generating faith and maintaining pure perception. Therefore, we must never step on the Sangha's robes. If we step over the Sangha's clothing, the fault is quite great. Why is this so? Related scriptures all explain this. Our monastic red and yellow robes actually. All Buddhas of the future, past and present when finally attaining Buddhahood, all manifest wearing such monastic attire, demonstrating Buddhahood while wearing such robes. Therefore, all gods, Nagas, and the 8 classes, humans and non-humans, should respectfully make offerings. In previous scriptures, it is said that when Garudas harmed Naga kings later, each Naga king placed on their heads some monastic robes, that is, fragments of the Sangha's clothing. Later, the Garudas had no way to harm them. Therefore, when we put on such monastic robes, except for karmic ripening effects from previous lives' killing and other actions manifesting generally worldly, temporary spirits and demons cannot harm us. Therefore, in the future, we should also respect all Sangha members, especially lay people who cannot stand seeing monastics. Oh, you people in this place are such and such. Some people with particularly heavy wrong views see everyone as distasteful, see everyone as bad people. Treating monastics with such mentality creates very great negative karma for oneself. This is unnecessary. We should maintain pure perception. Just as Venerable Atisha said, among even 4 monks, there will definitely be one saint, so it's only that our minds are impure. Actually, among these Sangha members, there are many remarkable saints. Therefore, wearing such red and yellow robes is not easy. We should maintain pure perception, otherwise you have broken the refuge vow. The above describes the 3 precepts of what to practice. Third below are the 3 shared precepts. For the teacher and spiritual friend who currently teaches us the principles of what to accept and reject, we must regard them as actual Buddha jewels. Even the teacher's shadow cannot be casually stepped upon, but should be diligently served and offered to. For the spiritual friend and teacher who teaches us Sutrayana and Vajrayana principles, regardless of their physical appearance or status, we should regard them as actual Buddhas. Actually, those who truly teach us the correct principles should be indivisible from the Buddha. This is not what some people say, that viewing the teacher as Buddha is a Tibetan Buddhist teaching. I heard that some individual Chan practitioners and some Han Buddhism practitioners have this view. This is a manifestation of their own ignorance. Actually, there is a text translated in Han regions called The King of Great Teachings on the Ultimate Blissful Vajra of Non-Emptiness, Samadhi Sutra, which states, generate great faith and respectful mind toward the Acharya. That Acharya is no different from all Buddhas. That Acharya is indivisible from all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. We should generate tremendous joy, respect, and earnest mind toward the teacher who teaches us any truth of Sutrayana and Vajrayana, because the Acharya in essence is indivisible from all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, with no difference. Therefore, it is completely reasonable that we should constantly serve and respect them. If you do not serve and respect them, then you cannot receive the true accomplishments and blessings of the Buddha Dharma for any teaching given by the excellent teacher. We should regard it as actual Dharma jewel thoughts and regard the teacher as Buddha jewel thoughts. We cannot constantly find fault with what they say, always saying, this is wrong and that is wrong. If so, then these precious words spoken by the teacher will never bring you true benefit. We should follow their teachings. Even a single word or sentence cannot be disregarded. We should have respectful mind toward the teacher and joyful mind toward the teacher's instructions. Now there are also some people like this, saying, we are democratic, we are equal. Respect for teachers is just outdated traditional thinking. Now we have entered the era of the 21st century, so everyone should coexist peacefully, with teachers and disciples being equal. If this is so, I'm afraid that not to mention our Buddhist concepts, even worldly teachers and students being equal with all students rebelling against teachers. Teacher, you're exactly the same as me. Such students would probably never learn any knowledge. If the teacher sits on the podium and students don't want to sit below, but sit on the podium the same as the teacher, not to mention Buddhism, even in the worldly realm, if there is no basic respectful mind toward teachers and parents, is there any opportunity to learn knowledge? So now this era has become a particularly frightening era. People are particularly ignorant and don't understand basic traditional concepts. After not understanding, it seems like there really is some reasoning. They completely cover truth with seemingly reasonable but false reasoning. Therefore, at this time, we have the necessity to study Buddhist truth. For the teacher's retinue, disciples and Dharma friends who share the pure conduct with us, we should regard them as actual Sangha jewels. The teacher's related retinue and disciples people who work alongside the teacher and dedicate themselves for the teacher cannot all be seen as enemies. All those who dedicate themselves around the teacher viewing them as enemies, speaking behind their backs, no matter who they encounter. We have a saying in our Tibetan areas, when seeing someone on horseback, stand in front and speak ill. When seeing someone walking, sit in front and speak ill, meaning that they speak of everyone's faults when they see them. There are such and such people around our teacher. If this is the case, possibly any including around Buddha Shakyamuni in those days, there were both good and bad people. So if a person's mouth is on their own body, and you want to speak ill of others, you can speak of any teacher's faults. You can also speak of the faults of any person dedicating themselves around the teacher or the faults of any related friends and relatives. All can be spoken. If you don't regard them as Sangha jewels, then this is unreasonable. We should regard them as Sangha jewels and respectfully rely on them with body, speech, and mind. Not even for a moment should we do things that make them unhappy. If the retinue is unhappy, if all people related to the teacher are unhappy, actually this is no different from indirectly harming the teacher. Of course, if those related to the teacher are indeed unreasonable in terms of proper reasoning, then they don't necessarily have to be protected, including teachers. Some are not true spiritual friends if their actions completely violate proper reasoning. Buddhism also does not force compliance. So-called once someone is called a teacher, then anything can be done willfully. Any bad deed can be done. Because I am a teacher, without speaking any proper reasoning as stated in the 50 verses of Guru devotion. This is also unreasonable, but for true spiritual friends whose actions and conduct we should worthily rely on with respectful minds. Especially in Vajrayana Tantra, the main deity of the refuge field is the teacher. Therefore, we must clearly recognize the teacher's body, because the teacher's body represents all Buddhas of the 10 directions. All beings of the degenerate age rely on the teacher's body manifestation before beings, truly turning the wheel of Dharma and so forth. Their body represents the Sangha, their speech represents the wonderful Dharma. Through methods of teaching, debating and writing, they teach others what to accept and reject. Their mind is no different from the Buddha's secret intention. They have already realized the true nature of all phenomena. In this way, they are indivisible from the Buddha's secret intention. They are the embodiment of the unity of the three jewels. Thereafter, all the teacher's actions should be viewed as correct and excellent, relying with sincere faith and doubt-free diligence, constantly praying with devotion, constantly praying to the teacher with devotion. If our three doors behavior causes the teacher to generate weariness, we completely abandon all refuge objects. If our actions cause the teacher to generate weariness and displeasure, we actually abandon all deity mandalas and all refuge objects. Everyone knows if you abandon the teacher and then pray to Padmasambhava. Although my relationship with my teacher is bad, I beseech Padmasambhava, please have a better relationship with me. Please grant me accomplishments properly. I particularly hate my teacher. Therefore, we should always and everywhere, with unwavering willpower and determination, find ways to make the teacher joyful. But now it seems that in the degenerate age, for anyone if the teacher is not pleased, it doesn't matter, as if it's like being unhappy with friends and relatives. It doesn't matter. They never think, I must confess before the day passes, cannot let it go overnight. Including many who receive tantric teachings, some truly don't care, truly feel indifferent in their hearts. Some may not understand the principles. Some, though understanding some principles, treat the teacher's displeasure exactly the same as other worldly people's displeasure. In this way, all accomplishments cannot be attained. We should find ways to make the teacher joyful. Previously I saw in the Blue Udder, it states, of all Mahayana precepts, making the teacher joyful is most important. Because the teacher is extremely joyful, all actions have great meaning. If the teacher generates joy, all actions and deeds have true meaning. Therefore, making the teacher joyful is particularly important in the practice process. We should rely on spiritual friends with three kinds of joy. In summary, whether it be suffering or happiness, auspiciousness or misfortune, pain or sorrow, no matter what, we should wholeheartedly rely only on the teacher and three jewels. Actually, in our life process, whether it be happiness or suffering or bliss or sorrow, whatever circumstances we encounter in life, whatever external conditions we meet, all are meaningless. Wholeheartedly taking refuge in the three jewels and praying to the three jewels is extremely important. Every word and sentence in the words of my perfect teacher is truly very precious. For those who sincerely study Buddhism, every single character is extremely valuable and cannot be abandoned. We must wholeheartedly take refuge in the three jewels. If we are happy and blissful, we know this is due to the compassion of the three jewels. As stated in the Buddhist scriptures, the peace and virtue in this world, even when the blazing sun is scorching, a gentle breeze blowing on our face, are all the Buddha's compassion and blessings. We all know that all happiness in the world are the Buddha's blessings. If the Buddha had not appeared in this world, we could not obtain true happiness. The collection of practices which enable one endowed with merits also states, if Buddha does not arise in the world, how can there be happiness in the three realms? If Buddha had not arisen in the world, how could there be happiness in the three realms? Because Buddha appeared, we obtain peace and happiness. Because of the Buddha's appearance in the world, we obtain peace and happiness. We who are seated here should often think, if the Buddha had not appeared in the world to give us guidance on what to accept and reject, the entire Buddha Dharma would not be in the world, but already disappeared. If we were in the dark kalpa, beings would have no happiness of liberation. Therefore, we should understand here, even when the sun is particularly hot, like in Han region's summer, the appearance of even a little breeze is also the Buddha's blessing. In winter, when the weather is particularly cold, the appearance of a ray of sunlight that makes us feel happy is also the Buddha's blessing. I remember the commentary on the ornament of the middle way states, if razors can shave hair and clothes can be dyed red and yellow colors. This is also the Buddha's blessing, it's just that people don't know it. Now, for example, we monastics can shave hair completely through shaving or dye clothes to become red and yellow. This is the Buddha's blessing. Some people might think, what's so special about this? There's much of this in the world, but truly in the degenerate age, none of this exists when it reaches the semblance period of the Dharma people who long to become monastics, no matter how they try to shave, cannot shave their hair. Finally, some people who long for the monastic appearance cover their heads with cowhide to imitate the shaved head of monastics, also wearing red and yellow robes on their bodies, with no other option. They wear cowhide inside out. There are such cases. Some of us might not necessarily believe this, but actually, all in our world, every bit of happiness, joy, and harmony are all blessings of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Bringing people even a moment of joyful mind is actually the Buddha's blessing. Everyone should understand this point. So, when you encounter particularly joyful circumstances, many of our old practitioners often say, oh, blessings of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas today is very joyful. When I drink a cup of tea and find it particularly fragrant, it's also the Buddha's blessing, the teacher's blessing. This cup of tea is very good. We should have such an attitude in life, regard any happiness as the Buddha's blessing. Similarly, when a moment of virtuous thought arises in the mind, it's also brought about by the Buddha's inconceivable blessing power, our wanting to practice, wanting to become monastic, wanting to generate bodhicitta, wanting to liberate life, etc. Moments of doing good deeds and virtuous thoughts are actually the Buddha's blessings, as stated in the way of the Bodhisattva. Just as in the dark night of heavy clouds, lightning flashes extremely bright for an instant, likewise through the Buddha's power and virtue, worldly people temporarily generate the intention to cultivate merit. We have used this before, just as in the dense darkness of cloudy skies, if lightning flashes momentarily, it's extremely bright, but it also easily disappears. Actually, people's temporary, brief ability to generate virtuous thoughts, wanting to practice Buddha Dharma or abandon evil actions, such thoughts are actually manifestations of the Buddha's power and virtue, the Buddha's blessing power. Therefore, we who are seated here should also often think in such darkness, among beings of such degenerate times. Having me generate brief interest in learning Buddhism is particularly difficult, just as lightning in darkness quickly disappears without a trace. Indeed, in such environments, generating practice, generating faith in Buddha, compassion for beings, these are all particularly difficult. Without the Buddha's blessings, we would forever sink in the ocean of suffering. Therefore, we ourselves should always be grateful to the three jewels, having a mind that is grateful to the three jewels. Therefore, we need to clarify one point. What is it? That is, no matter what beneficial and joyful things we possess, they all originate from the Buddha's great compassion. And no matter what illness, suffering, obstacles, or any setbacks and hardships appear, except for praying to the three jewels, we do not rely on other measures to remove illness and demonic obstacles. If we need to adopt some medical techniques or healing rituals and other effective methods, we should also understand these are the three jewels activities, then proceed with treatment, etc. For all appearances being the play of the three jewels, we should have unwavering faith and maintain pure perception. This point is also very important. First, we should think that without the Buddha's blessings, Everything in our world would be extremely painful. We must have such recognition. The Prajnaparamita Sutra of King Suvikranta Vikramin states, if Buddha Tathagata does not appear in the world, all beings suffer great pain. If the Buddha had not appeared in the world, we beings would all suffer extremely great pain. No longer having virtuous paths, only evil destinies. Hearing only the sounds of suffering and anguish from the 3 lower realms, only able to hear the sounds of suffering from the 3 evil destinies. So the reason the Buddha appeared in this world is that now we have the light of the 3 jewels. Whatever we do is all brought about by the blessing power of the 3 jewels. The Sutra of the Great Dharani states after the Buddha's parinirvana, when some Dharma teachers teach for people enabling some bodhisattvas or Mahayana practitioners or other assemblies to generate even the slightest bit of virtuous thought or shed even a single tear. What is this? It's caused by the Buddha's divine power. So I often contemplate the profound meaning of these scriptural citations. For example, when we communicate with everyone through Buddha Dharma, during the communication process, some people generate joy and faith toward the Buddha. Some people, while speaking and speaking, develop faith in Buddha. Then they shed tears with emotion. Shedding tears is not easy. Generally, worldly people cry a lot for their emotions, for their families. Woo-woo. Such tears are more than the Yellow River and Yangtze River combined. Such tears have no value. Once in a hospital, there was a nurse who treated me very badly. One day I saw her seemingly shedding tears. I said, "Are you crying for me?" She said, "I would never cry for you." Previously, when the teacher taught the great biography of Buddha Shakyamuni, he also said, if we shed tears out of compassion for beings, or shed tears from developing faith in the 3 jewels, then those tears are extremely valuable. As just mentioned, if we shed tears from developing faith in the 3 jewels or virtuous dharmas, there is tremendous merit. This is also the Buddha's divine power and blessing power entering the mind. Without cause and condition, crying is impossible. I would never cry, right? Without cause and condition, it's impossible. So shedding tears is also not easy. It's the essence of the body. Therefore, we should understand here that in our process of praying to the 3 jewels, does that mean we can just pray to the 3 jewels every day? Not need to see doctors, not need to take medicine, need nothing? Can we just prostrate to Buddha every day? Actually, it's not like this. What we should do, for example, seeing doctors or taking medicine, reciting scriptures, some effective measures should be permissible. But when you do this, you cannot think, oh, after praying to the 3 jewels, it doesn't work. Only after seeing a doctor does it work. You cannot think like this. Actually, when you go to the hospital, whether it's the doctor diagnosing you or prescribing medicine, these should all be the 3 jewels' divine power. The 3 jewels' activities manifesting in such forms to benefit me. We should clarify the true concepts within Buddhism. This is very important. We should maintain such pure perception when going to other places for business or other purposes. When going to other places, we should first prostrate to the Tathagata in the direction we're going, or prostrate to the 3 jewels before beginning our journey. If we go out on business, or go to a certain place if we're going eastward, visualize and prostrate to the eastern Tathagata, then pray to the eastern Tathagata. If going westward, prostrate and pray to the western Tathagata. Visualizing this way, actually such visualization makes everything a favorable condition. Usually, as practitioners, we recite some verses of the 8 noble auspicious ones. When going out, you always maintain a kind of respectful mind toward the 3 jewels, prostrating and making offerings to the 3 jewels, scattering flowers and incense. As stated in the Buddha's Empowerment Sutra, Indra and Brahma will protect, all matters will be auspicious, meaning that if we go wherever, making offerings and prostrations to the 3 jewels, protecting all who maintain pure conduct, all matters will be accomplished auspiciously. So we in Tibetan areas have a custom when going out. We go to monasteries to make offerings to the Sangha, asking them to recite scriptures while we pray. In this way, our temporary affairs can be accomplished. Moreover, prostrating to Buddha in the place we're going. Venerable Atisha also particularly emphasized this. I remember in the 3 vows that we studied before, it states, Venerable Atisha had 5 precepts regarding refuge. Do not abandon the 3 jewels even for life's sake or rewards. Do not seek others for any important matter. Constantly make offerings, enable self and others to take refuge. Prostrate to the Buddha in the direction you're going. When convenient, please look at the verses in the 3 vows. It has 5 articles. First, after we take refuge in the 3 jewels, even when facing life-threatening danger or receiving great rewards, do not abandon the 3 jewels second. No matter how important the matter, no matter how crucial, even if you obtain the position of president or obtain any kind of fame or wealth, do not seek others. Only pray to and take refuge in the 3 jewels third. Always constantly make offerings to the 3 jewels, walking, standing, sitting, lying. At any time, never abandon the light of the 3 jewels fourth. Wholeheartedly enable self and others to take refuge in the Buddha's teachings. Some of us are quite good when going out. Even when taking buses, look around to see if there's anyone suitable. Easy for them to tame, look at their expression. If their expression seems quite good, sit in front and ask, have you taken refuge in Buddha? They want to convert them. Then this person not only shows no respect, but lights a cigarette and so on. Later they become very disappointed, helpless, and return to their own seat because the smoke made it very stuffy, can't handle it. So enabling self and others to take refuge is very important. Fifth, always pray to and take refuge in the 3 jewels, especially when going out prostrate to the Buddha in the place or direction you're going. At all times and places, we should recite and practice the refuge verses of the Nyingtik tradition. We have also recited this before. In the true Sugatas, 3 jewels, 3 roots, wind, channels, essence drops, self-nature, bodhicitta. In the mandala of essence nature, self-nature, and great compassion, I take refuge until enlightenment. We can recite this 100,000 times or the 100,000 times in illuminating the path to liberation, or the refuge verses of the common vehicle. I take refuge in the teacher, I take refuge in the Buddha, I take refuge in the Dharma, I take refuge in the Sangha. This is especially known by everyone in Tibetan areas. The other day when I went to a school, I asked many elementary students, and most could recite it, because now many intellectuals in Tibetan areas are indeed not like before, including some students. Newly arriving cultures have a particularly great impact on them. After this, basically their faith in taking refuge in and trusting the 3 jewels increasingly weakens and degenerates. There is such a trend. This is also possibly an unchangeable current situation. Generally speaking, what we usually call the 4 refuges, the first refuge in the teacher, is the synthesis of all 3 jewels. We already explained its qualities before. The following 3 refuges are also in the Sutra of Great Liberation. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. If the verses of taking refuge in the 3 jewels are heard by dying animals, these animals will not fall into lower realms. Many merits are explained. Constantly vow to recite and practice the commonly known 4 refuge verses we discussed earlier. Before others, also constantly praise the merits of refuge and make them take refuge, making them understand that for all beings, self and others, the place of reliance for this life and future lives is the 3 jewels, and diligently recite and practice refuge. When we truly have opportunities in the worldly realm, we should speak about the merits of taking refuge in the 3 jewels and praise the 3 jewels before crowds. Now in the degenerate age, some people constantly say how bad monastics are, then say this reasoning in Buddhist scriptures is wrong, that reasoning is wrong. Some people are truly excessive. They say they speak facts, but actually they're not facts at all. They only see the side of faults and never see the side of merits. People with impure eyes and minds often cannot see the merits of taking refuge in the 3 jewels. For all our beings, what is truly most beneficial for this life and future lives is taking refuge. Only the world-honored ones can bestow fearlessness. This is also stated in the Buddhist scriptures. Only the world-honored ones can bestow fearlessness. Only the world-honored one can give us the gift of a fearless state. We should take refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, and Noble Sangha. we should with sincere faith take refuge in the Buddha, take refuge in the Dharma jewel, take refuge in the Sangha. Only this way will all our beings obtain true happiness in this life and future lives. Those who understand the merits of refuge will comprehend this. They will always and everywhere, no matter where they go, even if you meet a stranger on the road, when there's an opportunity, you will surely tell them about the merits of refuge if they haven't taken refuge before. People actually sometimes speaking, especially some people who are quite good at speaking, even if staying in a hotel for one night, if the person nearby doesn't believe in Buddhism, you slowly speak with them. By the second day when leaving, they also begin to take refuge in the Buddha's teachings. There is such karmic connection, very coincidental. Sometimes we might be very disappointed. You speak for a long time, but they may not necessarily respond. But when we recite some refuge verses or Buddha's names in their ears, it's still beneficial for them. During Dark Kalpas, even the names of the three jewels cannot be heard. So when we have different opportunities, we should suddenly speak about Buddha, Dharma, Sangha in others' ears. If that doesn't work, you can also do this when passing by, when taking elevators. It's all possible. Buddha Shakyamuni, Namo Amitabha, Azins Warenit Saptam Chamoni. Suddenly in their ears. Others might think you have some problem, but actually in others' ears, I often think this way. This affects others' mind streams. Some people, though they come to this world, but they may not necessarily find the sound of Amitabha's name very important. But planting such a virtuous root in their alaya consciousness is also a way of spreading the Buddha Dharma. Because if you truly want to find a group of disciples in this lifetime, the opportunity to specifically teach and expound Dharma may not be very ripe, so you can only consider passers-by as your most capable disciples when walking. Isn't that right? Did I say it wrong? In daily life, during walking, standing, sitting and lying, we should also visualize and remember the Buddha. When going to bed at night, as mentioned before, visualize the noble beings of the refuge field in your heart center. When you sleep at night, as we also taught yesterday, it's best to visualize this in your heart center, focusing your mind on the refuge field while falling asleep. Even if you cannot do this, if you truly haven't achieved the realizations of generation stage and completion stage, many people seem particularly confused about how to visualize and in which position if you don't have any realization at all. If this is the case, you can also mentally recall the teacher and three jewels are now dwelling above my pillow, compassionately and mercifully, watching over and caring for us, in front of us or above us all of Padma Sambhava. And the refuge field of teacher and three jewels all have kind and loving gazes, looking down upon us, caring for us, blessing us always in their embrace, in their luminous realm. If we enter sleep in a state of luminous visualization, actually our confused dreams also transform into luminous dreams. When sleeping at night, it should also be this way. We cannot always fall asleep with greed, anger, ignorance or darkness or other mental states. This is one method. Then generate sincere faith and maintain pure perception. Fall asleep in a state of continuously remembering the three jewels. When enjoying food and drink, similarly, visualize the three jewels in your throat chakra, making offerings with the delicious flavors of food and drink. The verses we usually recite for feast offerings are also like this. If you can visualize the entire mandala of the three jewels in your throat chakra, then imagine offering all delicious flavors to them. But some of us might wonder where the throat chakra is and whether the three jewels would be very small. Many people with solid attachments might completely have no true realization of generation stage and completion stage. Just within our physical body, how to visualize. If there are truly some contradictions in these aspects when we visualize. Actually, the body is not the same as our current physical body. Everything is apparent yet without inherent nature. On one particle that is apparent yet without inherent nature, there are countless pure lands and countless worlds. In this way, our throat chakra is just a direction. In this place, the mandala of countless Tathagatas, we also transform into countless magical bodies and can make offerings. But if you don't have such realization, During the process of eating and drinking, if you truly cannot visualize this way, then sincerely first offer the fresh portion of everything you drink and eat to the 3 jewels. We usually do this too. If you truly don't have such ability, the entire mandala of your 5 aggregates, the Tathagata mandala, if you don't have such realization, then when we usually eat meals or drink beverages in our Tibetan areas, there are many, and now there are also many old practitioners are all like this. Even when drinking something new, as soon as you open it, some of you might have seen this. Some old practitioners, every time we offer meals or offer them some beverages after opening it, they first offer the fresh portion to the 3 jewels 3 times before drinking any beverage or eating anything. First offer fresh portions to the 3 jewels. If you don't have such behavior or mentally recite the verses of offering to the 3 jewels once, then enjoy it yourself. After this, I see many Dharma friends still do quite well, male and female residents here at the Academy. During regular meals, I slowly observe, most people for example, after getting food in their bowl, they place it in front, first making palms together, then silently reciting offering verses in their minds before beginning to eat. This is a kind of practice. It's possible once you're used to it. If you're not used to it, long-term worldly habits are quite heavy. So bad thoughts and bad behaviors can appear at any time, while learning good behaviors is also extremely difficult. So this is also a kind of behavior of making offerings to the 3 jewels. When preparing to put on a brand new piece of clothing before wearing it, first visualize offering it to the 3 jewels. After waving it in the air once, mentally think the 3 jewels have bestowed it upon you, then put it on. Generally, for example, when we buy new clothes or obtain new things, anything, for example, if you have a new house or any new things, first offer to the 3 jewels, not just clothing, any object you particularly like, first offer to the 3 jewels. So now many Dharma friends sometimes make offerings of fruit before the Buddha afterward. Oh, today Buddha has already bestowed it upon me. I heard there's someone who runs to the Buddha hall every day. Ah, Buddha, Shakyamuni, please give me the best apple to eat. I think this is also fine. Because first make offerings after offering, mentally visualize the 3 jewels bestowing it upon me, then whether clothing or anything else, first offer. Now many Buddhists, when they have new Dharma centers or new houses, first offer to the 3 jewels, then use them themselves. This is also very meritorious. Similarly, when encountering pleasing external objects, also offer them to the 3 jewels. For example, beautiful gardens, clear rivers, wonderful palaces, pleasing forests, vast wealth, abundant enjoyments, and handsome men and beautiful women, adorned with ornaments, etc. When seeing particularly beautiful people or external objects, whatever kind of object, immediately first offer to the 3 jewels. I see some people often, when seeing attractive people on the road, offer to the 3 jewels, offer to the 3 jewels. Whenever seeing anything you love or are attached to, all should be sincerely offered to the 3 jewels. When we draw water, drawing water in the past might differ from now it's all tap water, so this might not apply. But when drawing water from springs or wells, we should also first offer fresh water, first offer to the 3 jewels. Take a little from the water ladle and sprinkle it, first offer to the 3 jewels. Sprinkle 3 times into the air, then begin using it yourself, then pour it into your own water vessel. In ancient times, people truly had such behaviors. Now many people think it's unnecessary. What a troublesome thing this is, because they don't know the merit. In their minds, besides what our eyes can see, there are also invisible blessings and merits of the 3 jewels. Now, many people's understanding of 3 jewels concepts is particularly poor, so they don't acknowledge this. So in their eyes, these are all unimportant. Actually, if we make offerings to the 3 jewels, although you yourself don't have great material wealth, you can accumulate vast amounts of wealth anytime and anywhere. The Sutralankara states, though without precious treasures and material possessions, those who can have faith in the 3 jewels are called the truly wealthy. Those who can have faith and can make offerings to the 3 jewels with mental offerings when making offerings to the 3 jewels, actually this is the most wealthy, the most blessed person. Therefore we should always and everywhere when seeing a wonderful object, frequently make offerings to the 3 jewels. the worldly happiness, contentment, peaceful living, and working we obtain, and widespread fame, etc. Any satisfying matter, we should think that this completely depends on the great compassion of the three jewels. First, make offerings to the three jewels, generate respect and maintain pure perception, our prostrations and offerings, deity meditation, mantra recitation, etc. All virtuous roots should similarly first be offered to the three jewels. Then this merit dedicated to beings. When we usually liberate life, there are specific verses in the life liberation liturgy for making offerings to the three jewels. Some people think, why can't I just liberate life myself? Why do I still need to make offerings to the three jewels? It's unnecessary. Actually, it's not like this. For example, if I recited 10,000 mantras today, then offer the virtuous roots to the three jewels, and finally dedicate to beings. Any virtuous deed I do today, I offer to the teacher and three jewels. This has tremendous merit. There is both the merit of offering and the merit of generosity. Whether reciting mantras, making prostrations, or creating any kind of merit, we should think in our minds what I did today. For example, the merit of listening to teachings today, the merit of reciting the King of Aspiration prayers today, the merit of practicing preliminaries today. I offer to the three jewels, then dedicate this virtuous root to all boundless beings under heaven. On the surface, this seems like a kind of mental attachment, but actually this kind of attachment has tremendous benefit for our accumulation of merit for enlightenment. Great merit, accumulating great merit, especially during the 6 periods on the 15th and 30th of each Tibetan month. We must make offerings to the three jewels as much as possible. Actually, every month, or during the 6 periods of day and night, 3 times during day, 3 times at night is also fine, or the 8th, 30th, 15th, and 25th of each month. Venerable Longchenpa in the Great Chariot also explained many merits of special days. In Han regions there are also enlightenment days, Avalokiteshvara's birthday, etc. On these auspicious days, make offerings to the three jewels as much as possible. When I was young, parents and practitioners around us often said, "Today is the 10th, we must practice virtue. Today is the 8th, we must practice virtue." All children practiced virtue. From childhood there was such a tradition. But I don't know if now in Tibetan areas, some places might have changed somewhat. I sometimes think that from childhood I encountered many spiritual friends. This might be related to merit from previous lives. Whether I was in middle school, elementary school, or herding yaks at home, there were still very good spiritual friends around, always preventing me from becoming particularly bad. I dare not say not bad, but often spiritual friends appeared around me. So especially when people haven't reached maturity in aged childhood, ideology is particularly strong. If, when we are in our teens, 20s, or very young, there are good concepts and behaviors around us, it influences their whole life. So parents of some, lay practitioners particularly need to give their children from childhood, in their ears and before their eyes, some Buddhist education about accumulating merit, etc. So we now, through various methods, help these new generation children instill in them Buddhist-related concepts and education. Here it also states that taking refuge in the three jewels must never be forgotten anywhere, any time. Usually also continuously make offerings to the three jewels, never forgetting anywhere, any time, whether suffering or happy, only take refuge in the three jewels. If we can achieve this, then, when fearful and terrifying things appear in dreams, we can also take refuge in the three jewels. Immediately recite, I take refuge in the teacher, I take refuge in the Buddha, I take refuge in the Dharma, I take refuge in the Sangha. In this way, in the intermediate state, we will also be able to do this. Before reaching such a state, we must diligently recite and practice refuge. In the final analysis, after wholeheartedly entrusting ourselves to the three jewels. Even when facing mortal danger, we absolutely cannot abandon the three jewels. This point is very important. Previously in India there was one. This is also taught in Buddhist scriptures explained in the Sutra of the collection of the 6 perfections. Previously, there was a king who governed the country according to Buddha Dharma. At that time, whoever took refuge in the Buddha Dharma in this country didn't need to pay any taxes. They were tax exempt. Then many people, Even those who didn't believe in Buddhism had to pretend on the surface because it was for tax exemption. Actually, many countries now need this kind of policy. At that time, they all took refuge. Later, it became impossible to distinguish true from false. The king once, in order to observe everyone's mindset, said, "All those who truly don't abandon Buddhism, I will sentence to death." At that time, except for very few people, no one made a commitment. At that time, there was one practitioner who was particularly good. He said, "I have seen in related scriptures and treatises that the merits of the three jewels are extremely great. I will never abandon them in my lifetime," requesting that his son also never abandon the three jewels in the future. Later, those sent by the king to observe discovered this gave this person great rewards, and the king required the entire nation to learn from him. Some people pretended to take refuge in the Buddha Dharma for tax exemption. Actually, this is unreasonable. He used a pretense method saying, "Whoever sincerely takes refuge, I will sentence to death." Some would not abandon even when facing life-threatening danger. If we have such devout faith, then the blessings of the three jewels will always enter your mind. So when we now have no particular obstacles, we should often think, not to mention other things, even when facing life-threatening danger, "I will never abandon the three jewels." If we have such firm conviction, then we become truly devout Buddhist refuge takers. Otherwise, superficially taking refuge in Buddha and Dharma for happiness, equality, or family harmony may not necessarily have true effect. Previously, a lay practitioner in India was captured by non-Buddhists. They said, "If you abandon the three jewels, we won't kill you. If you don't abandon the three jewels, we'll kill you immediately." At that time he answered this way, "If it's merely verbal abandonment, I can say it verbally, but my heart will absolutely never abandon them." Later, this lay practitioner was killed by the non-Buddhists. Therefore, we must do our utmost to enable ourselves to possess such a state. We must practice long-term, especially when everyone practices refuge. This time, we must repeatedly think again and again, though we now haven't encountered such great difficulties. Some people might have family members who don't believe in Buddhism, who then threaten you in various ways. This is possible, but you must never abandon them. This is an extremely important matter, so no matter what circumstances we encounter, we can never abandon them, and this vow must be firm, not just verbally. We cannot even abandon verbally. Verbal abandonment also has certain faults. During the Cultural Revolution period, whether in Tibetan areas or Han regions, there were quite many moving and inspiring stories in this regard. At that time, true and false were truly distinguished. What true Buddhists were like and what hypocritical Buddhists were like could be seen at that time. So, when we now haven't encountered such adversity, especially when we recite 100,000 times reasonably speaking, you should make this vow every single time. While reciting this way, we think at the same time. Taking refuge in the three jewels, I won't abandon even when facing life-threatening danger. Actually, our minds can be transformed. Previously, your faith in the three jewels was merely casual. Later, receiving such education, you yourself become a true Buddhist. Then in your mind you must have such strong willpower. Otherwise you're only a nominal Buddhist, but actually cannot yet be counted as a true Buddhist. So we should always and everywhere, everyone must first understand these truths, then gradually familiarize ourselves with them. After understanding, only when familiarization reaches the ultimate point can we be considered to have realization in practice. So the author requires that before we reach such a state, recite repeatedly, though we say 100,000 times is merely the lowest threshold. If after reciting 100,000 times you examine your own conscience, see if now someone killed you today, would you abandon the three jewels? If you feel you might still be willing to abandon them, it shows you're not yet a true Buddhist and must continue reciting 200,000, 300,000 times are all fine. So this isn't something verbal. Everyone must truly from their hearts. This time, I particularly hope everyone will truly generate faith in the three jewels from their hearts, and that every refuge sentence has such a vow. Before the three jewels refuge field, you repeatedly make vows. After you've already made 100,000 vows, if you change your mind again, that would be too bad. Worldly people who say even one sentence must remember it forever. I will never, with you. I won't change my mind. I won't. Whatever they say. Anyway, worldly people have many such expressions. No matter what, I will wholeheartedly rely on you. Such a mind, if it changes in the future, will receive punishment from the other party. Then before the 3 jewels, we should wholeheartedly make such vows. Taking refuge means entrusting to you. We must take refuge in your life with such a concept. So everyone continue reciting. We are still practicing, right?
Bandara